If you've been wondering what are all of these different yoga and fitness props that are out there and how do you bring them into your yoga practice, things like yoga blocks and a yoga strap and a bolster and a blanket and a ball, and how do all of these things come into a yoga practice? Join me for this workshop where I'm going to share with you how to use some of these different yoga and fitness props and how you can bring these in to your yoga practice and how we might use them in some of the classes that I teach. Now, it is important to note that this equipment is not required. These are not required equipment to do a yoga practice, okay? All you need for a yoga practice is your body, your mind, come to a comfortable place and sit on the ground, do some asana work, do some breath work, okay? You don't even need a yoga mat to do a yoga practice, okay? So if you're new here, my name is Heather, and I make videos and workshops all about yoga, mind, body, all of those things that go into a yoga practice. And specifically for those of you who might be on a fitness, health, and wellness journey and want to explore how yoga might come into your existing fitness, health, and wellness routine, okay? So what I wanted to do is share with you some of the yoga props that I have. I've been practicing yoga for 15 years, and I've collected these over the years, even such that I have one that I just bought on Friday that I haven't even unboxed yet. So we're going to go over that in just a second. But I've got links to all of these different pieces of equipment, maybe not the exact piece of equipment because some of these things I've had for a pretty long length of time, but they're the same type of equipment. So if you go to heathermonti.com/props, it's got links to all of the yoga and home fitness equipment that I use that I recommend. Again, you do not need to purchase all of this stuff. If you want to, certainly go ahead and do it. So I'm going to start with some of the basics that I do recommend if you are coming to a yoga class with me. We always start with something like a yoga block, okay? So let's start with the basics here, yoga blocks. So I have a video on my YouTube channel going over the differences between yoga blocks that are cork and then yoga blocks that are foam, okay? Either way, you just got to decide what you like. It might be just a matter of preference. You might purchase both and decide what you like, return one of them, whatever it might be. But with the yoga blocks, the way I want you to look at a yoga block is it helps bring the ground up to you, okay? So when you're in certain poses, it might be helpful if the ground were just a little bit higher for you, all right? It's not that it's sort of a beginner thing. It is not making the pose easier. It is simply an alternate way of doing a pose that makes it more accessible in your body, whatever it might be. It also might be a way to challenge yourself just a little bit more, okay? So one of the ways that I really like to use yoga blocks is in a forward fold, especially if you're just getting started in your practice for the day. Your hips are tight, your hamstrings are tight, your low back might be tight. When you just come into a forward fold here, see how it brings the floor up to me, okay? And I can relax my hands. I can then now relax my head and relax my neck. I can actually get into the pose versus I'm trying to touch my hands down to the mat, touch my hands down to my toes, and I'm kind of starting to wince because it's super intense. It brings the ground up to me. The other way, this is actually one way that I use it in my practice on Friday, was something like fallen angel. So think about your own personal anatomy. Your anatomy is going to be different from mine. I have a long torso. I have long legs. I'm 5'10". I'm tall, okay? And so what I have found for me is that by placing my hands on blocks, sometimes that gives my legs more room to do the stuff, okay? So for example, for many years, this is how I would do downward facing dog, and then to bring my knee forward to set my foot down. It gives me a little bit more room having my blocks up to bring the ground up just a little bit higher versus coming here, downward facing dog, lift my knee forward, and I might hit my toe here, okay? So it gives me a little bit more room to actually get into the pose. One thing that I actually found for myself on Friday, I was doing fallen angel pose. Same thing, you start here in downward facing dog. I'll lift my left leg, bring my left knee into my chest, extend my left leg out over to the right, and then open up, okay? So did you see here how that gives me a little bit more room right here versus if the palms of my hands are on my mat. I can still certainly do it, right? I can still certainly do it. I just don't necessarily have as much room to explore the pose, okay? So when you're considering yoga blocks, do not think of it as a way, like a beginner thing or a way to make poses easier. It's gonna help you to adjust things to fit your body and where you are. You might have different injuries. You might be shorter than me. That's part of a yoga practice, is figuring out how yoga blocks can help support you. So when you're thinking about yoga blocks, think about that as a way to bring the floor up to you. Another thing I like to do is use it in a way, again, bring the floor up to you. What I can do is create this little T here. You could even take a pillow or a bolster and put it here for a little extra comfort. But you can come down and lay down onto your block here, and that allows you to open up your chest, open up your shoulders, open up your heart, and allows you to come into a more restorative pose. I can also bring the bottoms of my feet together here into a butterfly pose. I could put blocks underneath here, bring that floor up to my knees so that's not quite so intense, okay? So again, when you're considering yoga blocks in your yoga practice, how is it that you can bring the floor up to you to help you in your practice? I will say for many years, I did not use yoga blocks because I did have the mindset of, I can power through this, I can do it, I don't need blocks. I viewed it as sort of a thing that, you did as like a beginner type of thing, and I wasn't a beginner, right? And just as I progressed in my yoga practice, I realized that recognizing my own internal ego was part of my yoga practice, okay? And so setting that aside is part of your practice as well. It's not just the asana, it's what's going on up here and what kinds of things are you telling yourself. One other thing that I like to suggest is some sort of cushion, knee pads, something like this. If you are experiencing any sort of joint pain, a knee pad can be helpful. These come in packs of 2. I have another one around here somewhere, but these comes in packs of 2. I used it a lot when I was struggling with some knee issues. Depending on the type of ground that you're on, you might need to use it more versus other types of ground. If you look at some of my older videos, I do have like a gym flooring, like the really thick cushioned gym flooring underneath my yoga mat. And that was for this purpose, was because I struggle a little bit with some knee issues, and they've gotten a little bit better. So you can see I've removed them, but that's something that you could do to help support some of your joints if you are experiencing any sort of pain. If you go to a yoga studio or if you go to a gym, you're going to want to pay attention to the type of the floor that they have there. A lot of yoga studios will have a little bit more of a cushiony type of floor. I know that going to yoga at my gym, the floor is hardwood. Hardwood floors do not have any give, okay? So I like to have a little something to put underneath my knees. One thing you can do if you don't have a cushion, you don't want to buy a cushion, you can fold your yoga mat in half or even in thirds to get that extra cushion, okay? So that's a suggestion for you there. Again, cushion's not necessary, but it is something nice to have if you struggle a little bit with some joint issues. Next, I want to go over the yoga bolster and the blankets. So a yoga bolster here and a yoga blanket you can use a lot in the same type of way, is that you can roll up your blanket, you can fold it. There's nothing special about these types of blankets other than they're a little bit heavier and they do stay folded. There's kind of a grip to them, so they do stay folded a little bit easier, but you can use any blanket that you have, a sheet, a towel, anything that you have at home. You don't need to purchase anything. But by folding it like this, you can sit on it, and it takes a little bit of the pressure off of your low back and your hips here, okay? So you get a little bit of a different angle versus just sitting straight on the floor here, okay? So you can use it for underneath your hips. When you're laying on your back, you can use it underneath your knees. You can use it underneath your low back. So you can use the bolster and the blankets a lot of the same way. So I could put the bolster underneath my knees, and then I could take the blanket to support my low back. And without a barrette in your hair, you can come into a restorative type pose. Your knees are supported, your low back is supported. You can come into whatever pose you're doing and breathe into it, relax, get rid of any of that tension that you have there, okay? Another thing that you can do with the blankets, you can also do this by folding up your yoga mat if you need to, is if you've got tight ankles or even tight calves and you come into something like a yogi squat, you can place the bottoms of your heels up on top of the blanket here. So my heels are a little bit higher than my toes. So if you come down into a squat here, that's going to help a little bit with that ankle mobility. And if you've got tight calves, that's going to help with that there versus, even you can see me, like I struggle a little bit to put my heels down here. So by giving my heels a little additional support, sometimes I do those yogi squats, I do them in shoes because then I get that support underneath my heels. And so I can actually come into the pose now and I'm not wincing, I'm not tensing up because my calves are tight, my ankles are tight. I can actually come into the pose now, I can open up my hips, lengthen my spine, do any twists, that kind of thing. Okay, so you can use the blanket for that as well. The bolster, I just showed you guys how you can use blocks to open up your heart. You can use the bolster to provide some additional cushion with that. So if you take your blocks, put them in a T like this, you got to just kind of play around with the height that works best for you. You can put your bolster here. What I have found is if you want to do this, you can put your bolster here, come into this pose. I love this pose so much. And then I just come into this pose. You can bring your legs out into a butterfly position here. Bring your bottoms of your feet together. Open up your hips. Open up your legs. You can create that diamond in between your heels and your groin here. Decide how big you want the diamond. And just come into this position. Open up your chest. Open up your heart. You can lay in this position for any length of time. I've done some yoga classes where you do this for 15 minutes. It's quite wonderful. What I have found, personal experience here, is if you do use the blocks in this position and then put the bolster on top of it, the cork blocks work a little bit better. They're heavier, they're sturdier. Okay, then the foam blocks are a little bit more cushiony. They tip over a little bit easier. Like I said, I got a YouTube video on those if you want to watch that. So the bolster is really great for just providing some additional support. You can place it in your lap. I could like to do this, just come forward, fold. This is supporting my torso just a little bit versus coming into it without the pillow there. It's just allowing you to relax muscles that might tense up. It allows you to relax those muscles so that you can actually get the benefit out of that particular pose, okay? So something as simple as this. You do not need to buy a bolster. You can use a cushion, a pillow, folded up blanket. All of these things are going to work just the same for you. But if you do want to buy them, go for it. I've been practicing yoga for 15 years. I've collected these things over the years. All right. So that is the bolster and the blanket. So those are sort of like the basics of what you might use in a yoga class with me. Now to get into some of the more sort of like maybe specialized types of yoga equipment, this is where a yoga strap might come in. Yoga straps you'll use a lot in like the restorative type of classes or classes, maybe slower flow classes where you come into a pose and you're going to hold it. You might hold it for 5 or 7 or 10 breaths. This is going to be an extension of your arms. That's how I like to view a yoga strap, as the extension of your arms. A block brings the floor up to you, and then a strap is going to be an extension of your arms. So one way I like to use a yoga strap, if you are a person who maybe you sit at a desk all day, maybe you're in the car all day, maybe you're, for whatever reason, your shoulders are hunched over like this, you're on the keyboard, you're hanging onto a steering wheel. What can happen is that your shoulder muscles, your chest muscles can really get tight and pull your shoulders forward. So you've got a lot of tightness here, okay? And so you want to work to open up your chest, open up your heart. One good way to do that is to bring your hands behind you. You can reach for your palms, bring them together into prayer hands. You can reach for opposite elbows. You can create prayer hands behind your back. If your chest muscles are overactive, they're super tight, you might struggle with this a little bit with even just bringing your palms together here, okay? And as an extension of your hands, you can use a strap. So you can use a strap, you could use a towel, you could use a necktie, you could use a belt. Any one of these are going to work. You do not need to buy a yoga strap, okay? But if you want to, go for it, okay? So what you do is you just hang on to it, find that heart opening position that feels good for you. It's not overly intense. You're not wincing. You're not holding your breath, but you're able to open up your heart by bringing your hands behind your back. And maybe your palms don't come together, but you can use your strap. And then while you're in your strap, you might work to really pull the strap apart. Okay, so that's going to engage some muscles in your arms, in your back, in your core, really just pulling that strap apart, okay? And so you might come into, if you're standing, you got the strap behind you, and you might come into a forward fold and reach your arms up towards the sky and chest expansion arms, okay? So that is one really great way to use a strap and view it as an extension of your arms. Another thing that's really great to do with straps, you can interlace, you can create a loop if you want to, or you can just bring the strap around the bottoms of your feet. You can do this from a standing position into forward fold, or you can do this in a seated position. Slight bend in the knees. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, hinge forward at your hips until you find that stretch. And this is going to allow you to hold the stretch versus like just gripping onto your calves or gripping onto your legs. Okay, you can use that strap to really engage your body, your full body into that stretch. You can do this in forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Use the straps to pull deeper into that pose, okay? So you can also do this laying on your back. So if you come onto your back, you can take the strap, place it around the ball of your foot. You can lengthen your spine, and then you can inhale and exhale. Bring your leg in a little bit closer. Inhale, exhale, bring it in a little bit closer, okay? The other thing I really love doing this is take the strap in one hand, both sides of the strap in one hand, and then place the strap around the ball of your foot, and then just open up your hip over to one side. And you can use then that strap to make sure that you're not like going overly intense in this stretch here. So right here feels a little bit intense to me. I'm not properly warmed up right now. So I might just hold up that stretch right here, okay? So the other thing you could do in that same stretch is you could place a block underneath your knee, place a block underneath your leg, under your foot, whatever is necessary there. So that is the yoga strap. Again, you can use a towel, a necktie, a belt, kitchen hand towel works really good, things like that. This one here is kind of a fun thing that I found on Amazon. This is a yoga strap that already has loops pre-built into it. It's kind of like a daisy chain, okay? And the texture of it is really soft. And then the grips on the end here have like a felt grip on the inside here. So if you're like really gripping onto it, it doesn't like dig into the palms of your hands. So that's kind of nice. But what's nice about this is these loops are already preset. Whereas on a yoga strap, you've got this loop-de-loo here that you can adjust it, and you set up the loop. So this just really helps you save time. If you're in class and you want to adjust and you don't want to manually adjust the loops, you can do this. I do have a 10-minute flow using yoga straps with loops. If you wanted to try it out, I do have that on my YouTube channel as well. You could try that out there. But this is really just kind of like a fun thing that I found on Amazon. So I thought, oh, I'm going to buy it. Let's try it out. It's kind of fun. It's kind of nice. And like I said, the texture is really good. If you feel like yoga straps kind of dig into the palms of your hands, this one feels really good. Okay, it feels good in the palms of my hands. All right, so that's a yoga strap. When we start getting into some of the more strength type of classes, mobility type of classes, we might use a resistance band. You can get these in all different tensions and all different colors, all different fabrics. So this one is like a fabric-based resistance band. They also have sort of like the stretchy rubber band elastic material type ones. I like these better only because I live in the desert, and those rubber bandy type ones, they dry out really easily. And living in the desert, they dry out even more easily. So you've really got to be careful. You want to make sure you're looking at the seams to make sure there's not just like a very slight tear. Because if you come into something and you start to pull it apart, it's going to rip apart while you're trying to do it. So one thing that I really like to do with the bands is place them around your knees. And you can do this seated or standing. You place them around your knees, and then if you press your knees apart, that's giving you some resistance on the outside of your legs, okay? So you can do this when you're doing chair pose, for example. So if you come up into chair, your feet are hips width distance apart. You're in your chair position. You sit back into your heels. So my toes, I can wiggle my toes here. See, I can wiggle my toes. I'm sitting back into my chair. Then what I can do is just press my knees apart. That's really engaging my glutes and the sides of my legs here, okay? So you can do these squeezes like this, all right? You can also do that in bridge pose. Okay, so if you come back down onto your back, into your bridge pose, press your hips up, and then you can press your hips open and shut, okay? So the bands are just gonna give you a little extra resistance in some of the poses that you're already doing if you wanted to build a little bit more strength there. Again, it's not necessary, but it's something that you can certainly do to give yourself some options and build some strength as you are in your yoga practice, okay? So that's resistance bands. Another thing that you can use for some strength moves, this is a Pilates ring, okay? You probably are not gonna see these at a yoga studio unless they also teach Pilates, okay? However, you can bring this into your yoga practice. Some of my classes, we do things with blocks that you could do with a Pilates ring as well. One of them being this. This is one of the things that you'll see in a lot of my classes. You'll bring the bottoms of your feet together. Say you're in a standing position, you come down on your mat. We're working our way down onto our back. Rather than just plopping down onto your back, I like to reach your palms forward, squeeze your palms together. That's engaging all of your arm muscles, your chest, your core. Inhale to lengthen your spine. Exhale, slowly roll down. One bone, one vertebra at a time. Go a little bit slower. Press your palms together, slower, 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 all the way down onto your back, okay? So you can do that with the Pilates ring, or you can do it also with the yoga block, okay? So same thing. You're just not gonna have as much give as you do with the Pilates ring, okay? Press your palms together into the block. Exhale, slowly lower down one vertebra at a time. There's other things that you can do with this as well. So much like the resistance bands, you can place it around your knees, press your knees open to get the outside of your legs. With the Pilates ring, what you can do is you can place it on the inside of your legs. There's these nice little like round spots here for your palms of your hands. Works nicely for your thighs as well. So you can bring it to the inside of your thighs here, and you can, same position here as bridge. My feet are a little bit wider than hips width distance just because of the size of the ring, but then you can press your knees together. So now we're getting the opposite side of your legs, okay? So with the bands, you get the outside. With the ring, you get the inside. You can press in and out. Another thing you can do is extend your legs long, bring it to the ankles, bring it into the ankles, extend your legs long. You can press it together. And another great thing to do is to take some circles like this, all right? So just side to side like this, all right? So this is something that you can do. You can bring it into your yoga practice. But again, it's really more of a Pilates thing, but it's fun. You can bring it in. So that's the Pilates ring. And then when I purchased mine, it came with a Pilates ball. It's a little bit of a squeezy, squishy ball. I'd probably need to put a little bit more air in here, but it works, okay? So the one thing I like to use the Pilates ball for is place in between my knees, and I can squeeze it together. So if I'm in plank position, you can take your block, your cork or foam yoga block, or you can take your Pilates ball, place it between your knees, squeeze your legs together. So that's really going to help to engage core muscles, back muscles, thigh muscles, glute muscles, all the muscles. So you can use a yoga block for that. This is just an option. If you have a Pilates ball, you can do it. You certainly don't need to purchase it though. There's a lot of different other things that you can do with exercise balls. You have, if you're doing more like HIIT functional type of workouts, you can throw these down into the ground. You want to make sure that, it doesn't bounce back up and hit you in the face, but you can throw these down onto the ground. You can throw them up into the air. Okay, they're a little bit lighter weight, so if they do bonk you in the face, it's not going to hurt like if you do it with a 20-pound medicine ball, okay? So, but you can throw those up into the air too. So that's going to give you some of that movement in your shoulders. So that's what I like to use the Pilates ball for. Next, when we get into some of the myofascial release types of workshops that I offer, we'll use a couple of different things. Mostly we'll use a foam roller, and then we'll use a small ball. Okay, so I've got some workshops where we do some mobility work, some myofascial release, self-myofascial release. This is what we'll use is a foam roller. Now, this is just one example of a foam roller that I have. I think I picked this one up at Walmart, but I got links. Go to heathermonte.com/props. Got links for either exactly what I have or something very similar. This is a smaller foam roller. You can see it's probably about a foot wide. And then on the inside, I've got another foam roller that I can use. All right, with the idea that this one's pretty hard. There's not a lot of give. This one's pretty squishy. Okay, so there's a little bit more give here. So you can use one or the other. There are other foam rollers you're going to get that are like 3 feet long. Same thing. You're going to have different. Is it harder? Is it softer? Okay. So what you'll want to do is, this is something that's kind of trial and error, especially if you're just getting started with something like foam rolling. You might not know what you like. You might not know if you like a harder one or a softer one. You might just have to try it out. And you'll do some foam rolling to release that fascia. If you come into your thigh here, I'm going to move some of this stuff out of the way. Come onto your thigh here. You might be rolling out your thigh and you're like, oh, that's way too much. It's way too intense. You might want to try something a little bit less firm, okay? So what you'll do is with your foam roller, you just kind of roll out those muscles until you find a spot that's just like it needs a little extra loving, right? You can do it onto your back as well. Open up your shoulder blades. Come onto your back. You can do your full body. I've got a full self-myofascial release workshop in my membership where I show you how to do a full body foam rolling routine that you can do. And this is really going to be great to break up the fascia, keep your muscles, your fascia, everything moving nice and fluid, that we're not breaking up a little bit of where it becomes bound together, where that tissue becomes bound together. Sometimes scar tissue can do that. So this is one thing that I really do recommend. Again, it's probably not part of a yoga class, but it is something that you can do as part of your fitness and wellness routine. You can do it as part of your warm-ups, your cool downs. Just 10 minutes a day is going to be great to just get things moving in your body. Now, the ball does the same type of thing. It just helps you get into some of the nooks and crannies just a little bit better. All right. So what I used to do when I worked in corporate America and I sat at a desk all day in a cubicle or in an office or whatever, I just kept a softball or a tennis ball underneath my desk. And there's going to also be different tensions. Do you like it harder? Do you like it softer? So take a ball, place it underneath your desk or wherever you're sitting, and you can just roll around the bottom of your foot. You can find any knots or anything that you've got in your foot. This is great for those of you that maybe you wear high heels. Maybe you're a hiker. Maybe you're a runner. Maybe you're a triathlete. You do a lot of things on your feet, and your feet muscles are getting a really good workout. This is going to be a great way to give those little muscles a nice, well-needed massage. You can also bring it on to the back of your ankle, roll things around there, okay? Another thing that you can do with the ball, you can place it into your shoulder joint right here, and then you can press it up against a wall. If you just press it up against a wall like this, you can get a little bit of massage into that shoulder muscle. That might be, if your shoulders are really tight, you can get really good in there. The other thing you can do too is open up your shoulder blades in your back. You just open up your shoulder blades in your back like this. Place the ball on the wall and get to it there. And then you can open up your shoulder blades. I always get knots in the back of my shoulder blades, okay? This is one I do quite frequently. And then you can just kind of get in there, move your body around where you need it, okay? So you can do that. I'm doing it sitting. So you can see it, but you can do that standing. It's a little bit easier to move around with that. So that's going to get more into some of the mobility work, the self-myofascial release work, foam rolling work that we do in some of my programs as well. So I really do suggest that if you don't have like a tennis ball or a softball or something, go to play it against sports or something. See what you can find. They're not expensive, and just every day you can even do this on the palm of your hands. It's fantastic. It feels wonderful. And then finally, I haven't even opened this yet, is a yoga wheel. So this is something I'm going to be exploring here coming up in my own practice. But like I said, I've been practicing yoga for 15 years. These are all pieces of equipment that I have gathered over the years. I like to try stuff out and play with things. So my next thing is a yoga wheel. Now, same thing. You do not need to purchase this. Like I said, I've been practicing yoga for 15 years and I just purchased it 2 days ago. Okay. So this is the yoga wheel. It is cork. It's not bendy. Okay. It's not like the Pilates ring here. We see the Pilates ring is bendy. See how I can push on it? The yoga wheel is sturdier. It's firmer. On the box, it says it's cork. It allows you to open, stabilize, and support your various yoga practices. Roll lengthwise along the spine for a deep heart opener. Hold on to either side and press into the mat for grounding while mastering Pincha Mayurasana. Okay, the possibilities are endless. So it gives you a couple of ideas here. What I purchased this for is that I'm working on back bends, and I want to be able to, I showed you a couple different things with the blocks and the bolster to open up your heart, open up your chest. What I want to do is I want to explore how to use this, bring it onto your spine. And so much like the same foam rolling motion, you'll come forward and back, but this allows you to open up your heart, open up your chest a little bit more, but it's more supported. Okay, so you can come onto your arms, onto on your head, whatever it is that you're working on here. But that's my intent for this, is to start working on back bends and getting deeper into wheel pose, which is where you press your hips up towards the sky into a wheel. I'm working on getting a little bit deeper into that position for myself right now. So that's what I purchased the yoga wheel for. Certainly not necessary. Certainly not anything that's in any of my classes right now. Doesn't mean it won't be in the future if you're interested in exploring it with me. So that is the yoga wheel. So to recap, to start a yoga practice, you do not need any equipment. None. Zero. Not even a yoga mat. Okay. You can see here I've got a yoga mat. I got a towel over it. The towel is really just, I sweat a lot in my hands. Okay. So that's what the towel is there for. You can do yoga in the grass. You can do yoga on the ground. You can do yoga on your carpet. You do not need a mat. These are just things to assist you in your practice. They're there as a tool. They're not a requirement. If you are like, yes, Heather, I want to buy a couple things. I'm excited about this. I want to buy a couple things. What I would suggest getting is a good yoga mat. I've got a couple of YouTube videos about different types of yoga mats. This is the Manduka Pro yoga mat. It's squishy. It's very solid. It's a good, firm yoga mat. I've got a towel on top of it because I have sweaty hands. If you go to hot yoga, you might be sweating and sliding all over the place, so maybe you want a towel. Also, I've got a YouTube video about what I think is the best hot yoga mat that is out there. It's the Lifeform yoga mat. Watch that video if you want. It's an expensive yoga mat, but if you're doing hot yoga regularly, totally worth it because you don't need to be constantly doing laundry to clean the towels, okay? So what I would suggest is if you're like, yes, I'm getting into yoga, I want to make a little bit of an investment in some equipment, what I would say is get yourself a nice mat. Get a mat that you love the design, you love the color. It makes you feel good when you look at it. If you get a towel, same thing. Find a towel that you love the design, you love the color. Coordinate it with your yoga mat. It's totally okay. I love coordinating things. It's totally okay. It's not necessary. Of course, it's not necessary. But why not? Why not love the things you're looking at? And then what I would say is purchase a set of yoga blocks. Okay? A set of yoga blocks. Again, I got the video on the cork versus foam. I do suggest the cork. I do have the foam ones only because I bought those a long time ago and I upgraded to the cork ones. They do cost a little bit more though. So I would say get yourself a good set of blocks, and then I would say get a strap. Okay. These are probably the things that I use the most in my classes when I'm teaching yoga. This is what you'll probably use frequently when you do yoga at a yoga studio. If you like to do more restorative type classes, these are classes where you come into a pose and you're going to hold it for 3, 5, 10, even 15 minutes long. That's where you're going to really get some benefit out of having a bolster and having a blanket. Okay. And some people even have 2 bolsters. Like if you do a lot of restorative type of yoga, some people have 2 bolsters. I just haven't gotten there yet. Okay. But that's what I would suggest if you like doing that style of yoga, something where you're going to come into a pose, you're going to hold it. When I was recovering from a broken leg, I broke my tibia and fibula. I had to have surgery to have a rod put in. So I had surgery on both my knee and my ankle. I did a ton of restorative yoga to just allow this muscles and my leg to just relax and chill out and stretch that fascia, doing some myofascial release, things like that. This is where the bolster and the blanket really came in handy. I used it a lot. So if you're, like I said, if you're new and you're like, I want to get into yoga and I'm interested in purchasing a couple things, those are the things that I would start with. Okay. The rest of this is just stuff that I think is going to be helpful for you as you start exploring other areas of yoga, other things that you want to do with your body with yoga. These are some of the different things that you can use, things that I've collected over the years. There's other tools out there too that I haven't even begun to explore yet. And I'll likely do a part 2 of this video as I start finding more tools and maybe even some of the things that I'm learning about how to do with the yoga wheel. So I hope that you found this helpful. Again, go to heathermonti.com/props. That's going to have links to all of these different tools that are out there that you can bring into your yoga practice, your home gym, your home workout. I've got weights on there. That's not even something I got into, is weights in yoga. I'll make a separate video about that, but I've got equipment on there for your home gym, like things like a step, a stability ball, weights, a weight bench, things like this that can really help to complete your home gym. So, and as I said, this is really intended for those of you who are like, okay, I'm really getting into this yoga thing. I want to bring it more into my health and fitness and my wellness practice. What's next? What's next for me? I want to spend a little bit of money, right? I would say these are the couple things to buy and then maybe start exploring some of these things. And as I start building out more classes in my membership, you will see classes where we're using something like a Pilates ring. But if you don't have a Pilates ring, totally okay, because the option is also to use a block. Okay. So make sure to check out those other couple of YouTube videos that I shared with you, the ones about the blocks. I've got a YouTube video about the yoga mats. I've got a YouTube video about a 10-minute flow using the yoga strap with the pre-made loops. I got a couple different things there for you to try out. So check those out. I got links in the description for you as well. Go to heathermonti.com/props to get links to all this stuff. And I hope that you found this helpful. I'm glad to have you along in our yoga journey together. And if you found this video helpful, please like the video, subscribe to my channel, and share this video with somebody who you think might find it helpful. You can also get the other recordings of my mind-body workshop series. This is a workshop, part of my mind-body workshop series. You can go to heathermonti.com/free. That is my free starter yoga and fitness membership, where you can get access to some yoga flows. You can get access to some nutrition guidance, some strength guidance, all around health and wellness type of guidance. It's heathermonti.com/free. You can get a copy of this recording. You can get a copy of all of my other mind-body workshop recordings there as well. So thank you. I'll see you in the next video.